Hello everyone, I'm Wendell Jones and welcome to this edition of the program Jones and Company. On this program we examine national issues. There is a debate going on in the country on the constitutional bills before the Parliament, and some controversy has erupted about the implications of the word sex in Bill number 4. And the Prime Minister of the Bahamas, the Right Honorable Perry G. Christie, on the 23rd of July in a presentation to the House of Assembly, said that the 4 bills representing the first round of constitutional reform and are bound together by a common thread: the need to institute full equality between men and women in matters of citizenship, and more broadly, to eliminate discrimination in the Bahamas based on sex. We're going to discuss this today on our program. Our special guest is the Honorable Theresa Moxey-Ingraham, who is the co-chair of the Educational Committee for this particular referendum that is expected on the 6th of November. Mrs. Moxey-Ingraham, welcome to our program.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
They tell me when you sit in the cabinet for 10 years or more, you are honorable, right? For life, and that is why I had that, I made that note at the beginning of the program.
I try to be. Thank you.
Yes. Godfrey, it's nice to have you here.
Thank you.
And you sat in the cabinet as Minister of Health and Transport and Immigration
and housing and agriculture and environment. And
wow, you are the full gamut.
They didn't make me Minister of Finance, though.
Okay. Didn't know too much about money, eh?
You're doing right.
So you are chairman, co-chair of this committee. How is it going?
It's going well. I'm co-chair along with retired Justice Ruby Nottage, and that's a singular pleasure. I've worked with Justice Nottage in other community projects. This is the first time that I have to work very, very intimately with her. I'm learning a lot.
You're learning a lot.
Yeah.
This has become somewhat controversial.
Yes.
I read the communication of the Prime Minister, and in this communication, he said that the government wishes to place on record the appreciation of the Minister of, I beg your pardon, the Leader of the Opposition, Dr. Minnis, and Senator the Honorable Carl Bethel, and he talked about the kind of bipartisanship on matters of high constitutional principle. And he said that they were very much a part of the preparation and the finalization of the bills that were introduced in the Parliament.
Yes.
So is this bipartisan?
Yes, it is. I think bipartisanship of the highest order, that the two major political parties have agreed that this matter is one that is so fundamental, so historic, that the time has come to erase the lines for the moment and let's move on and move forward.
Does it have to be bipartisan?
It helps, certainly helps. Let us go back a little bit, about 14 years now, when the last time constitutional amendment was attempted, and the issues were primarily the same issues, this whole business of erasing gender inequality, of institutionalizing equality in terms of citizenship and all that. And things were going along quite nicely, quite smoothly for a while, and then politics kicked in and the polls separated and the matter was defeated. This time it's hoped that we're beyond that point.
Okay.
Mrs. Moxey-Ingraham, the rhetoric of the past week does not reflect bipartisanism.
Yeah. Yes, and interestingly enough, reflects a divergence of thought within both political groupings, because to our great surprise and to a little bit even our chagrin was the thought that, first of all, members of the opposition Free National Movement, one or two of those, rose on the floor and stated that they had some differences and some difficulties with certain provisions of the bills as before the House at the moment. And then, surprise of surprise, and from the governing side of the House as well, you got that same kind of rhetoric. And yes, I agree with you. Over this last week, it did seem as if the whole approach to bipartisanship was going to be derailed. I've been in several meetings since then, since Wednesday, which was the last day the House met. I've been in several meetings since then, and I have a lot of hope that those difficulties are going to be ironed out. Because, you know, fundamentally, no member said, I disagree with everything being proposed. No member said that. Whenever there were differences cited, it was, I have a difficulty with the wording here, or I have a difficulty with the principle here. Are we sure this is a good direction we want to move in, or maybe we need to go back and get deeper consultation on a particular thing? No member came out outright and said, forget the whole thing. No member did. So I have a lot of hope.
Mrs. Moxey,
Yeah.
the man in the street
Yeah.
doesn't understand it like that, you know.
No, the man in the street also isn't privy to the discussions I've been a
but
part
no-
of over
no,
the
no.
last 2
No,
days
but
that
it's
I'm
a-
not at liberty
it is
to
the
tell
man
you
in
all
the
the
street-
results of.
It is the man in the street who has to be convinced, right?
Yes.
And the rhetoric does not reflect a convincing argument for him.
Yes, and there is merit in all that you say. I keep saying, I say again, beyond Monday, the man in the street will be given new perspectives,
Okay.
different perspectives.
So you were saying that what we heard coming from the leader of the opposition after Wednesday, that there has been a change of heart. He has changed his mind as well.
Since Wednesday, negotiations, renegotiations, redefinitions, new proposals are being considered as we speak. And everybody wants to be reasonable on this. I think I speak for the whole political picture when I say that. They want to be reasonable. They want this to move forward. I think most of us are by this point almost embarrassed that we're still here.
Yes.
And there is convergence on that idea. We need to go forward.
Okay.
Madam Moxey-Ingraham, I came into my manly being, calling myself a child of the 60s.
Okay.
Right? 60s was a very transformational era.
I know. I was a very
Right.
young girl then.
And here we are, almost 50 years later. We're grappling with the issues in the Bahamas of women's rights.
Isn't it
50
crazy?
years
Isn't
later.
it? No, I'm with you. It's crazy. But
Grappling with the issue of women's rights, that's fundamentally what it is.
yes, and Mr. Ineas, I agree with you. We ought to have passed this stage
50 years ago.
50 years ago. Well, here we are, and it is what it is. We've still got to get beyond this hurdle.
This is a backward country.
Mrs. Moxey-Ingraham, we're talking about equality.
Yes.
Why do we need 4 different subjects in this proposal to deal with the matter of equality? Why can't we go to the electorate and ask them the simple question, do you agree that there should be equality in the country, that men and women should have the same, Bahamian men, Bahamian women should have the same rights under the law?
I'm with you, Mr. Jones. But remember now, neither of us are lawyers. We're all, we're professionals in other areas.
Yes.
The lawyers, the interpreters of constitutions and law and all the rest of that have convinced us that to do that, there are certain provisions in the Constitution that need to be altered in and of themselves, and that each of those alterations requires its own piece of legislation.
So there cannot be one single question in the referendum. you need to ask 4 questions based on the 4 bills?
According to the legal experts we have, yes. Each of those requires its own question, because for each, in fact, that was one of the difficulties people expressed about the last referendum. If you recall, the issue of equality was couched in 1 question, or maybe 2 questions. They said, if you were to give strength to those had they passed, you would have needed a bill for each one of those provisions. And I bow to the attorneys in that.
Let me think. I am offended by this.
Okay.
I tell you why. I have 2 sons who were born in America.
Yeah.
Right? And they're Bahamians through me.
Yeah.
I have a wife who's Canadian.
You lucky man.
I have a wife who's Bahamian. I mean, who's Canadian.
Yes.
And they are Canadian citizens.
Yes. Those fortunate children.
Then they are. That's not all. I have grandsons who were born here in the Bahamas, and they hold British passports because of their mother.
Yeah.
And here we are in 2014.
Today. Yeah.
Right. That is why I say it's a backward country.
We
Backward country. Modern countries do not operate like this.
And modern countries don't.
down.
But modern countries, most modern countries don't make 2 cuts at this cherry.
No.
This is for us the second time at this. But like I said, this is where we are.
Yeah, but it's a reflection. Let me finish this. Right? I feel strong. It's a reflection when I hear this rhetoric in the House.
Yeah.
That is why I am insulted by the ignorance.
No, but I've heard some posturings in the Parliament of the Bahamas.
Okay.
Just people trying to get brownie points.
Yes.
Trying to capture your attention. You're the media.
No, don't capture my attention because I think it was unintelligent
Yes.
of some MPs to run on with foolishness
Yes.
over a simple matter. And this whole question about sex and the meaning of sex. And in the Constitution of the Bahamas, it is clear that it means male or female.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
yeah. But the arguments they are
But you have
giving-
been electing the wrong people to Parliament who've been creating problems.
Jones, they kicked me out. I tried.
They kick you out of
Yeah.
All right, okay. All right.
No, well, you know, let's move beyond that.
Yeah.
The arguments that the opponents are giving, and that is the crux of most of the discussion. This whole business about what does sex mean, and if you put sex further in the Constitution, what it's going to do, and the possibilities and the doors it will open. Many of them are saying to us, sex today means something different, and you don't put that there, because when you put that there, I'm bringing it out, it's going to mean you're opening the door and people of same sexes are going to be allowed to be married, and that's the kinds of some of it is, I believe some of it is genuine
Ignorance.
But I mean ignorance in classic sense, in that they do not know.
But look, but same
And
sex.
some of it is just plain old bias and homophobia.
Same
you
sex
know?
to me means 2 people of the same gender.
Yeah.
That's what same sex means to me.
When you travel
Yeah.
and you see on the form sex,
Yeah.
you put male
Or female.
Yeah, usually.
You don't put homosexual. You don't put gay.
Or lesbian.
You don't put lesbian.
No, but I might.
You put male or female.
Yeah, but well, that's in most countries. But now we're getting stories that some countries are now, and depending on which area of governance or what industry you approach, sex now has several other boxes to tick. But that's neither here nor there. Scientifically, the scientists tell us, the doctors tell us, the courts of law have defined to us, both European Union as well as the United Kingdom's courts and many other courts around the world, sex is male or female. Sex is what you have been identified as at birth. Sex is what your chromosomes dictate. That's sex. Now, the difficulty, though, comes when with now the new world and new sociology that we have, gender means something otherwise.
That's different.
Gender is how I identify, or how I've been socialized,
Right.
and how I identify. I identify male, and my chromosomes don't say that though. You know, so that's a different matter. And we are trying, and our efforts at the Commission, the Education Committee, is trying to say to people, do not be afraid of the word sex. In fact, you're safer in legislation if you put sex as opposed to any other word, because sex has a stated definition.
And so, as the co-chair of the Educational Committee, when you hear this argument that Bill number 4 opens the door for same-sex marriage, what is your retort, ma'am?
My retort is to try and explain what sex is, what sex means. My retort is to say the Constitution defines what a bogus marriage is. And a bogus marriage, those are my words, not the Constitution's words. It defines what is a non-marriage. And a non-marriage, one of the categories of non-marriage, of void, is people of the same gender. Yeah. That is already in our law. Yeah. It is already protected in the Marital Causes Act. It's there already. And so you try to say to people, do not be afraid. Here are the facts. Here are the facts. Here are the facts. That's what we try to do.
Mrs. Moxey-Ingraham, there are some people who are contrarians.
Yeah.
All right? Just don't want to be contrary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this particular, this is supposed to be, we shouldn't be having this conversation.
No, I agree with you. We should not today, not in 2014.
Right.
We should have passed it a long time ago.
We should have passed it a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And to hear the contention in the Parliament of the Bahamas, you wonder whether or not people who have been elected understand the Constitution of the Bahamas in the first place.
Yeah,
whether or not they have an understanding
makes you wonder
of the independence order of 1973.
Makes you wonder. Makes you wonder. We assume that they are political leaders. They have come to us and said, I want to manage a country. We assume that they would understand some of the fundamentals of managing a country, and one of them is understanding your main document.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me ask you, apart from this question of a woman's right to pass her citizenship on to her children, and the fact that a woman marries a foreigner and his right to obtain,
right to apply,
to apply for citizenship, right? Is this factored into? We are looking at this from the situation of our xenophobia, the Haitian context.
Some of it.
Is that what is clouding this?
Some of it is. There is some of that. There is a bit of that. But we have been for a long time, a society whose mores and legislation have been directed through the lens of patriarchy. And we don't like to accept the reality that our fear of women being able to do these things, especially the whole idea of allowing your non-Bahamian husband the right to apply.
Yes.
There is the Haitian concern there, but there is a larger concern about foreign men generally, and our patriarchy.
Xenophobia.
Our patriarchy hasn't been very happy about the thought that foreign men could come in and hold positions of prominence in our community. We've not been very comfortable with that idea.
Yeah, Mrs. Moxey-Ingraham,
Yeah.
There's another thing. And I've heard the argument from some women who believe that men are entitled to more rights than they are.
Yes, unfortunately,
and they base this on the Bible and misconstruing certain things in the Bible.
Yes.
And there are a whole lot of Bahamian women who really believe that they should be subjected to whatever their husband says.
That's that poorly applied Judeo-Christian ethos that makes us, unless we learn to question it for ourselves, makes us accept the idea that we are inferior beings, that we are lesser beings, that we have been, made to be handmaidens and help and servants and whatever. So there is that. I say this to those people, right? And I found 3 beautiful stories, about women and their place in the Bible and all that. But I say this to those persons, we the Judeo-Christian ethic teaches us that the things the Israelites did and recorded that they did are the way to model a society. Okay? In Israel, today, every Israeli citizen, male or female, is entitled to pass his citizenship to his spouse or to his children. Everywhere. And if they don't say where unless of course your spouse is a citizen of states they deem enemies of Israel. Male or female,
can pass it.
You pass it on, no question, no discussion.
Right.
Same thing with your children. Whether you're married or unmarried, they are the children of Israeli citizens. They are Israelis. So I say to those people for whom biblical Israel is a pattern, get with it. Israel is no longer biblical.
But the realities of the 21st century does not reflect that thinking, you know.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why I say that, Mr. Jones, even though this is our guest. First of all, I can't quote the exact percentage, but there's a growing high percentage of women who lead households.
Yes, in our community.
Right?
Yeah.
And secondly, on average, women are better educated than men in this country.
That is reality.
Those are true. Those are two facts
that's right.
So this whole argument, to me, is nonsensical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do you tell me? I'm head in the household.
You're head in the household.
Yeah, I work hard. Got an education. And how do you tell me I'm second?
Yeah.
Or less?
Right.
How do you give my brother rights above mine?
Well, that happened for the last 41 years.
Yeah.
And there are many Bahamian women who said that it worked well for the last 41 years. Mm-hmm. So what you're changing it for?
We can be all right. We can be all right. Many women also had a difficulty with suffrage, you know. The stories of the suffragists tell you that it was a struggle. You know, they had to convince some women, you are good enough to vote. So they can be all right. We can bring them along too.
Okay.
They can be all right.
Let's take this break on the program. This is Jones and Company, and we are talking about these 4 bills before the Parliament of the Bahamas to change the Constitution for equality for women. We take this break. We'll come right back.